I'm Barbara, and I work as a documentation specialist at Eteplan. But before I start, I will ask you a question. How many of you are working remotely currently? Okay, that's like a half of the group, I think. Yeah, so I guess you can relate to this topic. I will try to answer the question if how home office kills our productivity. I used to work remotely for like 10 years now. I started in the translation industry. Some of you might know that there is a lot of freelancers working remotely in this industry. Yeah, but then I just decided to move to TechCom. So I started to work at Eteplan, and it was in 2020, in January. So we can just see what happened next. So it was like 2.5 months for me with working in the office, and then the pandemic came, and yeah, I just got back to my home office. But why did I choose this topic? Well, when you think about technical communication, you think probably about content, about tools, about methods, I don't know, data, markdown, Doxas code, whatever. But there is one secret ingredient to get this TechCom bread, and it's actually us, the contributors, the content creators. So that's why I chose to focus on us. Now a disclaimer. I'm not an expert in productivity. I'm not a wizard of productivity. I'm just someone curious enough to just explore this a bit more. But what actually is productivity? We can define it as the amount of output volume, the services, the products we create, compared to the inputs used to create these services or products. So in other words, the more output we create and the less inputs we use, the more productive we are. And what kind of output volume we can create? For us, it's usually the manuals, I don't know, online tools, online help. But it can also be just a bit of information, a bit of content. So we can just break down the whole thing, the whole document, for example, and see it as small bits. And there we are very productive. Like we did 5 procedures. So yeah, we are productive. And it works this way, actually. But now I'll just flood you with data because we are kind of data freaks, right? So long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, like in 2019, I searched for some data that could relate to this topic. So in 2019, in the USA, 6% of employees worked fully remotely. That's not a huge number. And in 2020, it went up to 35%. Also, there was a study that showed that when doing boring and repetitive tasks, we are more productive in the office. And you can just think that maybe writing a procedure could be boring and repetitive, right? Also, there was a study that shown that individual productivity decreases proportionally to the time the team members spend working remotely. So when we are all working remotely, our individual productivity really is low, right? But then the pandemic started, and it turned out that 30% of Microsoft employees claimed that they observed a decrease of productivity when they moved to their home offices. And we also discovered that we are often more creative when we are in the office. So we design things more creatively and more productive when we are in the office. But on the other hand, the productivity in March and April 2020 increased by 47% compared to the same period in 2019. And this is information given by Prodoscore. It's a company that produces tools to track productivity. So it's quite reliable. And yeah, I already said that in 2020 in USA, 35% of the employees stayed in home office. So this led to a survey I conducted in January 2022. You might remember I just posted it in some social media asking to fill the survey. And I collected 75 answers. It's not a huge number, but still it shows some tendencies. And it's based on our feelings, not just hard data. So the productivity was not tracked. It's just based on our feelings. And I asked what got better and what got worse after we went to our home offices. And it turns out people liked the working hours, that's obvious. But the productivity also peaked. Like 42% said the productivity got better. But on the other hand, the productivity was also worse for 23%. So there is a huge difference, right? So it made me think, is it a real issue that we tend to be more productive or less productive? So I designed a survey that I conducted in my company, and Eteplan is a company that has departments, techno departments in Poland, Finland, Sweden, Germany, and the Netherlands. So I got a huge number of responses, 162 responses, and here are the results. Most of the people that answered to my survey were technical authors, but we had also some team managers, team leaders, project managers, also technical illustrators, because our company produces documentation for machines, so there need to be technical illustrators illustrating the way you need to replace an engine in a lawnmower, for example. But there are also other roles like salespeople or coordination of delivery of documents. So yeah, basically technical authors is the majority. There are both male and female, slightly more females answered my survey. And there are a large number of really experienced technical communicators. So it's over 40% of people who respond. And what about previous experience with home office? It turns out that 42% of people really had no experience whatsoever with remote work, and 35% worked only occasionally at home. So they were not really experienced with this kind of setting. And currently 34% are working fully remotely, so it's still a huge group, and 56% works in a hybrid model. So basically they're like going to the office 1 or 2 days a week, and the rest they spend at homes. but here is the, the core of my survey. What got better? So it turns out that work-life balance is better when we are at home. But also the working hours, the schedule, it's more flexible, so we like that. It works for us. So there is also no need to commute, so we don't lose time to get to the office. But also 62% said the productivity is really boosting. And what got worse? Yeah, the communication with the team was really getting worse, and we can all relate, I guess. And 34% said nothing really changed. So it's a good thing, I guess. And I asked about the factors that affect our productivity. So here we can see a lot of data. So I just went down to just 5 factors. So these are the most positive and the most negative impact factors with negative impact. So we can see the flexible hours really are making our productivity better. Also, the relaxed atmosphere, so we can just sit in our pajamas in front of the computers, and yeah, that really can boost the productivity. Silence, that's a thing, because in the office it tends to be really crowded or loud, so we can't really focus on what we are doing, and silence at work really is something that works well. Also, when we have some creative work, it really has a positive impact on the productivity, and also in interaction with our colleagues. What is interesting, the factors with most negative impact is strict working hours and strict working atmosphere. So we don't really like to sit in the office like strict in front of a computer from 8 to 4. Not really the thing that boosts productivity. Also, all kinds of distractions, like office-related distractions, or maybe different distractions, like phones from our family. But interaction with colleagues is not perceived as a distraction. Also, background music is not really a thing for a lot of people. And what boosts and undermines our productivity? The great boosters are the ability to focus. So if you are really able to focus on what you are doing, you are productive. That's obvious. Also motivation for work. And there were some answers about our motivation. So the factors are, for example, the salary that motivates us, or interesting projects. Also good organization. So when we are really well organized, it really helps to be productive. And when we are able to follow a schedule that really works. Also, when we are able to communicate with others, that can also be something that boosts the productivity. But the obstacles are obviously lack of motivation. So if we don't really feel motivated to whatever we are doing, it's really pain. So we are really not productive and not focusing on our work. We cannot focus, so the productivity is really bad. Also, screen fatigue is something that can really be harmful in a working environment. So I asked about the strategies that my colleagues use to keep the high productivity level, and it turns out that regular breaks are the most popular method to keep this productivity level high. And I'll just talk about it a bit more later. A to-do list, that's obvious. So we need just to plan whatever tasks we need to do and just check them. And yeah, we can be very productive with that. When we are giving priority to tasks that need to be done immediately, and just not procrastinate. Yeah, that's the thing. Another thing is to create a dedicated, defined workspace at home, so that we know that this is the environment we are working in, and we just focus sitting there. Some of my colleagues are listening to music or podcasts while working, so we can imagine the podcasts are really a thing for graphic designers or visual designers, not authors probably. So we can also plan the day ahead, wake up early. And others, for example, taking a nap in the middle of the day, so we can just start fresh after a short nap and focus on the work. And what about our brain? Stephen Porges is a neurobiologist. He created a polyvagal theory. And he claims that during isolation, the vagus nerve is not stimulated enough. And this is the guy there. The nerve that comes from our brain down the spine and through all our bodies. So we are stimulating this nerve when interacting with other people. So when we interact, it produces oxytocin, and therefore it increases our well-being. So when we are feeling well, we are more productive, right? And if we don't stimulate enough this vagus nerve, we might start to feel anxious in social situations, like me now. Yeah, so it's really important to stimulate this nerve to interact with other people, but it's not really easy when you are working at home, locked down. So we can just think about different methods to communicate with our team members. So we tend to make video calls. And actually there is a thing called Zoom fatigue, which was researched ironically by Microsoft on Teams users. And there was a study conducted in 2020 on volunteers. They made EEG tests, these tests where they put the sensors on your head and just see whatever brain reaction you have while doing things. So they put these things on the heads of the users of Teams and registered the brain waves. And it turns out that during meetings, the brain waves are behaving differently. So here are the records of the brain waves, the gamma waves that are responsible for integrating multiple senses in information, and the beta waves that are responsible for concentration, but also anxiety. And as you can see, the activity of these waves are higher between the 15th and 35th minute of the call. So we can just think that long calls are not really good for our brain. And we tend to feel anxious, and we lose our concentration the longer we stay at the video call. But what is interesting, I don't know if you are using Teams. And do you use the together mode? Have you tried it or not? For fun. Okay, so the study shows that actually the mental effort during the grid view, the traditional view, is higher than when we are using the together mode, because the together mode tries to recreate like a natural space, a meeting that you can just place the miniatures on like chairs, for example. So it kind of recreates the natural meeting. And actually, it seems that it might work for our brain. So if you are like setting up a long meeting, it might be interesting to see if this together mode really works for you. That's maybe something you can just try out. And there is another thing, the screen fatigue. So when we are sitting, like normally in the office, you just tend to get up and just talk to people, get a coffee or something. So you're just not staring the whole time at the screen, and now you are meeting your colleagues at the screen. So you just tend to just look at the screen, and yeah, you can just feel your eyes hurting. So there is this method, the 20-20-20 method. You can just try it out. So every 20 minutes, you look at an object that is 20 feet away. It's like 6 meters for at least 20 seconds. And it really helps you to feel fresh and not just strained by looking at the screen. So that's something you can just try out yourselves. And is home office for everyone? So you can just imagine that it's not really working for some people, and it's really like there are personality types that can benefit from home office. So those who draw energy from quiet spaces, those are the people that could really benefit from home office, not just open space office we are having now. Those who need flexibility instead of a strict routine, so not just going to the office at 8, just working and just going out of the office at 16. And maybe also those who like to work individually and independently, so they just can shut the door and just do the work. So it really can benefit like those 3 types of personalities. And I also asked about the preferred work model in my survey, and it turns out that almost 23% of people would like to stay in home office. So we just got used to it. And also a lot of people like to have a hybrid model where we work at the office for 1 or several days a week. But there is also a large group who would like just to stay at home and just go to the office once or twice a month. Okay. And what to do with a remote team when you need to just communicate with each other and collaborate. And collaboration is something, is a thing today during all the presentations. So there is a very interesting theory about launch and relaunch by a researcher, Cedal Neely. She published a very good book, Remote Work Revolution. I really recommend you to read it. So the basics is that a relaunch works as a reset. So you launch a project, a team, and then you just work in this team, and there is a time when you need to reset. It's where you make sure you are realigned with your team members, when you are focused on shared goals, and you are clear about your capabilities, the contributions you are making, and the resources, and the constraints of the project, of the team. And then you can just launch again when you are realigned like this. And it is very important to build trust across the team. And there are two types of trust. There is the cognitive trust, when you know that the people you are working with are capable of things, they have skills, and yeah, you just trust them. But there is this emotional trust, when you know that other people care about you. So it's very important to build trust, both the cognitive and the emotional, to be successful in a team. And there was an open question in my survey, and I got a lot of very interesting answers, and I would like to share these with you, maybe as takeaways. So these are more or less technical advice from my colleagues, like fast and robust internet connection, and VPN is crucial for remote work, especially if large amounts of data, graphics, etc. need to be transferred. And larger screens dramatically reduce the screen fatigue. I guess you can all relate that working with a big screen or several screens really does the work. Taking Teams calls is much more efficient at home than in the office. In these modern open space offices, other people doing their calls and online meetings are very disturbing. Yeah, we can all say it's really true. And when you have a silent place at home, when you can just take all the calls, it really helps just to focus, just to go through the meeting without being disturbed. As someone with a mild case of ADD, it's very helpful for me to work from home in a defined space. I can be more flexible and plan my time around these hours that will occasionally come up where I can't concentrate at all. So people with some disabilities can really benefit from home office, and it's really hard for them to just stay focused, stay concentrated while they are in the office. They feel stressed, so it's really a relief to be at home and work there. Also, it might be a challenge when some of the colleagues return to the office and some will be permanently working remotely. It's about the team spirit and inclusion. And this is a problem that I don't really have a solution for that. I think we need just to work it out somehow, just see how does it work with us, and then come up with a solution. Maybe the launch and relaunch can work here. Also, the problem with working at home can be discipline. Yeah, that's true, right? When we are like losing discipline and just working whenever we have mood for work and not just when we need to work, yeah, we will be not productive at all. In the long run, also spatial and social claustrophobia. So yeah, that's again the social thing, the communication thing. And I'm more productive at home, but I've missed my colleagues. That's true. So again, the communication with team, with colleagues is really essential. The vagus nerve, remember? Open your windows, not only the ones on your display. That's a nice takeaway. For me, it has been a perfect way of working, and I will never switch back to full-time at an office. How many of you think this way? Yeah, that's a lot. And the last one, it's been the best time of my working life this far. And I can relate. As a conclusion, I can say that home office can wound our productivity, but it does not kill it when handled with care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Oh. Do we have people with the microphones? Oh, okay, there is the first question.
Hi there. My name's Jacek. First of all, thanks for the great presentation here and for reinforcing some of my views about working from home and making me feel better about myself. But that's not what I wanted to say. The question that I wanted to ask is whether or not you have an idea about this rift that has shown up between employers and employees. Your data shows, and the responses here in the audience also show that that productivity is not harmed in a significant way. People love working from home. The chart that you showed, like the overwhelming majority of people want to stay working from home. And if you look on the internet and ask around, people will even say things like, if I have to come back to the office, I will hand in my notice immediately. Things like that. So, but then again, employers, some of them at least, are pushing very hard for workers to come back to the office, no matter what. And there are companies that are embracing this distributed model of work, but there isn't like a louder and louder voice that can be heard that we want our people back in the office, no matter of their opinion. And do you have an idea where that's coming from and why that is?
Well, I think that's probably a trust issue, maybe, but also they invested so much money into offices, so they just want to use it. But maybe a hybrid model could work here, offices can be places where we meet with collaborators and then go home and do our work at home. But yes, I think we can vote with our legs. So if they are like forcing us to go back to the office and we are not happy about it, we can just quit, maybe. So this could be a message for the employees. And also, I was kind of hoping about having an impact by showing this so that the employees know that we really want to be in our home offices and it really does not harm our productivity. So maybe this will have an impact.
I was just wondering whether there isn't any legal issue with people working from home, that some companies might not want to go through changing their agreements, whatever? If
Yeah,
you break your
probably.
leg
Yes,
at your
yes.
home,
So-
is it an accident at work or whatever? I don't know.
Yes, I guess we have, we need to have some regulations about that. So we just waiting for the government to act. So, and we really need this change. So maybe we can just have an impact on whoever is designing the law, just to include this, and so that it would be
Somehow regulated,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because right now it's like a gray area. And it's the 4th time I'd used the word area today. Okay, any more questions? Because there were a lot of hands.
Well,
Okay,
already
you
on
already
mic.
have, okay.
So, okay, my name is Ilya, and question is about data you were presenting. So, the thing I was missing and I'm very curious about is, do you have any data on working conditions at home for those people who are working? Because it makes a huge difference if you have a separate room where you're not distracted, or if you have to hijack your dining table for work.
Yes, I actually don't have any data about that. That's an interesting issue, so I'll try to explore it more in the future. But yeah, there is an issue with also with parents, working parents with children at home, and it really can harm the productivity. But the flexibility of home office can just be some help here. But yes, that's a good question, and I don't have data about it, but yeah, that's an area to explore in the future.
Okay, next question. Okay, there is my...
Hi, I'm Mike. I just actually had a question about, do you think that there's any long-term effects of working remotely on social skills? As just that there's been kind of studies showing that with long-term effects that you kind of lose the the empathy of realizing that there is a physical human being on the other end, whether through just communicating through email and phone calls. You do forget that there's another person. So do you think there's any effect on social skills?
Yes, definitely. And it was shown with the study on the vagus nerve. When we don't stimulate it, we just tend to lose the skills, the communication skills. So yeah, we need just to keep in mind let's say, exercise our brain in the way that we'll just remember that we are all people, right? Not robots.
Thank you.
Yeah, but hi, I'm Jana. I just wanted to ask about the same, because I was thinking, okay, we need people, we need interaction. You mentioned some neurological reasons for that, but does it mean that we have to, interact at work, or we can do our work quietly at home and then meet people, outside work with friends,
I think for our social skills it would work, but the question is if the atmosphere at work will benefit from it or not. I guess when we are working in a team, it's really important to interact within the team. So it would mean that we'll need to interact with colleagues at work as well, not only just family or friends.
Okay. Hi, Martyna from Wrocław. First of all, it was a great presentation. You did fantastic research, really, so congratulations. My question is maybe not related to productivity, but to balance. How do you keep balance between your work and private life? I know this is a very popular question nowadays, but I am particularly interested in your opinion. Any tips?
So my methods to keep the work-life balance is just to have a space where I work and just turn off the computer whenever I'm done with my work, and just then move on. And this can just keep the balance between life and work. So that's my thing.
Thank you.
Okay, we have still some time for questions. Oh, yeah, there is one question at the top. It might be turned off, so.
Yep. Hi, finally, a question from the back of the room. Thank you. Yeah, my question is, because you've presented us with an in-depth analysis of the remote workforce. And my question is, how did you gather all this data?
Actually, it was a survey that I conducted within my company. So basically, I just used our internet, like intranet, to spread the news.
How many people replied to your survey?
Sorry?
How many people, how many replies did you get?
It was 162 people.
Okay, cool, thank you.
And it was within 5 countries. So we have like tech doc departments in 5 countries. So that's all tech doc people, not just random people.
Okay, we have time for one last question, and there is a lady over. Okay, so maybe 2 questions and too many questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Anya. I'm from Krakow. I do have a question. It's not as professional as all the other questions. I'm just simply curious about one thing, because we've seen a lot of data, and I'm just wondering about your personal experiences. What do you feel works best for you? What are the biggest challenges you've identified so far with both of these working models? I'm just curious about that.
So, okay, the biggest challenge for me, because I've been working for 10 years now, fully remotely, with a short gap. The biggest challenge was, I think, the space. Now I have a defined space to work in, but I didn't have that like 10 years ago. And I can feel the change when I just have my little office space. And it really helps a lot. Yeah, that was my biggest challenge, and I think now I will go for hybrid model, but the majority of time I will spend at home, and then just go to the office to meet the coworkers, just for socializing.
Okay, so one last. Okay, go. So 2 last questions. You and here at the front. Okay. So start here, and then we can go back to the back.
Thank you. Okay, hi. Thank you very much for this presentation. Really like terrific amount of graphs and research done. And my question is kind of weird one. So, do you think with this tendency of a bunch of people wanting to stay at home and a bunch of people wanting to go to the office because they are extroverted, do you think it's going to influence the way the teams are formed or reshuffled in the future? For example, let's make this team full of introverts and let them sit at home, and let's put these 2 so they can come to the office.
Well, I guess it won't work, because if you have a group of introverts, they might not just work well together. So it would be good just to shuffle the team with both introverts and extroverts, so that they are completing themselves somehow. But yeah, that could be an issue, and I feel the challenge there is that half of the team will be on site and half of the team will be online, and this could create some problems. So that's something we need to explore and find solutions, how to cope with that, I think.
Can we go with the question at the back and the last one here in the front, and then that's the end? Okay?
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Francesco from Italy. My question is about job safety, in the sense that we considered our preferences. I think the majority of the people actually like to work from home. Me personally, I love it. But there is one thing to consider, or at least I have a doubt, that maybe you considered or you found data on. What about job safety, in the sense that if a job market is from the meeting of supply and demand, the moment borders, in the sense physical borders, are gone, for people living in cities where usually companies are concentrated, is there a risk, you see, of delocalization of companies from outside of the cities, or better, from the entrance in the job market for people that do not live in main centers or even in specific countries, to lower the entry in a job market, in the sense that they might ask for less, they might ask for less money, less things, and so companies might see the pool of people that might enter in the job market regarding the positions they're looking for increase so much that this will push the salaries down, the requests down, and so it might even push the urbanization of the cities, for example, because of increased costs. It might not be worth to stay there, and so on. So, do you see any risk? Did you encounter any data that indicates this, or did you have any consideration, any thoughts about that, and what might be the implications in the next 2 decades about this?
I think there is a risk, but still, if you have huge expertise, you can just expect the salary not to lower down. So it's, I guess, the question of skills and our expertise that will do the job here. Yeah, actually, it's beneficial for us to have access to a wide range of offers in different cities, not only one. And you just don't need to relocate and stuff like this. So I think I see it as a benefit for us and not a risk, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the really last one question.
Hi there, my name is Anastasia. I'm from Austria and Belarus. And I have a question on methodology, specifically how you constructed your survey. So did you have like ABC options? The reason why I'm asking is that because like when you have options, like predefined options, probably someone is distracted by their, I don't know, their dog. So that
yes,
is
so
my question.
there were options to choose, but you were able to add your own options. So it was kind of reflected here. So I just gathered some responses that were similar and just grouped them as an answer. So yeah, it was kind of close, but not really.
Okay,
you could just suggest your answers as well.
Okay, and will you probably share the same survey with us in Slack?
Yeah, I can do it, but I just need to dig it out and I can just share it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you everyone for so many questions. Thanks, Barbara, for an awesome presentation.
And thank you for the trust.
Okay.